He shaved my boots for me.
Y'all get something else for me.
That's what y'all live in, is noise. And then you wonder why the hell you got somewhere. Ooh. It's noise. Okay, so what are y'all talking about? Theological circle jerks?
Yeah. Predestination circle jerk.
I had said, we had a class and it had gone into a predestination versus non-predestined topic, and that usually just circles around and around and around because everybody has their own opinion on how that went or how that works. So I politely walked up here, shook his hand, and I said, "Thank you for coming, I appreciate it, but I cannot participate in this predestination circle jerk." And I walked out.
When was that? Last week or?
Last class.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're predestined not to wipe up your own piss. It's God's fault that you can't handle your shit. You're predestined. Or something like that, maybe. Which that in itself, in my opinion, is a distraction. It's thoughts about thoughts about thoughts about concepts. You might as well watch wrestling. Nothing evil about it, nothing bad about it. But if you're living it, it's something to distract you from the background of noise. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then you spent however long, and it's fine, it's fun. It's fun. Nothing wrong with it.
I wonder why they chose to base that on good versus evil, the good guy versus the bad guy. They always got a nemesis for the hero. They always got.
In the fiction, yes, you always do. All stories have that. The pro and the antagonists create tension and energy and drama. Then there's some resolution and a lesson learned in the drama. I've been studying these people, this guy. He's either crazy or brilliant, I don't know, or maybe both. But he's talking about how the very way we use grammar is pretty much always in the past or the future. We have very little facts. We have opinion. My boy ain't here, is he? Okay. And kind of where I'm at right now is, how is it that we jump out of our body and live in our head and are trying to come to a better awareness of that? We've been talking the last few weeks about mattering. And what part of speech would mattering be? It's some kind of adverb or something. I don't know. I never learned grammar very well.
It could be a noun, it could be...
Well, mattering in terms of an action,
verb.
not matter as a thing.
Yeah, verb.
Some kind of verb form. And remember, that's based on the Genesis account of God breathing the Ruach or the Spirit into the flesh, and it became a living soul. Right? So if we want to be a living, actual soul, there's some connection to where are we attending, where are we living, where are we in the now, are we in the future, are we in the past? Because you were a great example of when you're living in what is actual, which is now. There is no past or future. We only get now. That is actual. Everything else is a fiction. Everything. It may be a fun fiction to play with, and even predestination is about past and future stuff. You know? If you're in the moment, predestination has no relevancy. Because
Doesn't the past have some sort of relevancy though? I mean, is it?
Where is it? Show it to me. It's not an actual thing.
It's not there.
It's not there.
It's not okay.
Tomorrow is not an actual thing. It's a concept. Because whatever in the space-time continuum you do to get to what we are referring to as tomorrow, it's not tomorrow anymore. It's now.
You have trouble telling my ex-wife the past isn't a thing.
Wow. Well, if you responded to her speech, you made it a thing.
True.
In the moment.
True.
Because she started doing her thing, whatever it was, and you got anxious and you got out of your moment, out of your now, out of your body, into your head, and you became a ghost, and y'all were just...
She didn't get hysterical, she got hysterical.
And all that's cute and stuff, but just wait.
Yeah,
Just,
you're speaking right.
okay, just... Because there's nothing wrong with funny. Funny's great. I'm trying to articulate something that may be helpful. Okay? Because even those patterns in us, and this is just a point of reflection for you, baby. It's not a critique. As I've watched you, observed you, your mouth runs a lot. Okay? And sometimes it's on point, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a distractive move. Sometimes it's a, am I smarter than this person move, or whatever all that's about. And my guess is that there are times when it's not, you're not speaking from your power, you're not speaking from what is, you're speaking from something else. And it becomes another distraction. Does that make sense, baby? Okay. And it's fun to play, it's fun to have conversations. Are we predestined? How many angels can fit on the head of a pin? And, you know, does Adam and Eve have belly buttons or not? Or whatever. But the first thing is, are we a living soul? Or are we a ghost? Living in the past or the future? Because when you got in the moment, and when you get back there, when you remember that you forgot, there are no problems. When you're inside yourself, there's nothing that can come against you that'll defeat you. I mean, somebody might chop your head off, but you still win. You know? I'm not saying there's not evil in the world, there is. But once you die to the fictional stuff, the fiction doesn't scare you anymore. It's hard to scare a dead man. Jesus died in Gethsemane when he sweat drops of blood and surrendered himself or whatever to what is and to God. And then he just kind of walked through the rest of it and clarified who he was and who he was not. That's all he did. The Roman people will ask him something and he'd go like, well, that's what you say. That's your fiction. But the truth is not that. I do not receive your fiction. And I'm using these words because they're not theological. So you can come at it a different way, because we sometimes throw around so many theological words we don't really know what we're saying. It just fits in the pattern. Predestined, not predestined. And it's a game. And it's a sword fight.
So how do you stay in self and not in your head?
First, you got to want to. And then after that, it's already done. You just got to walk it out. Because I just got to know you a little bit the other day.
Yeah.
You know, I peeped at you underneath your hat and stuff, and I seen you under there. Because that is a persona. You know, that is out of the experience you had in the world. That became your suit you put on when you went out in it. Which is different than when you're laying on your bed by yourself at 2 o'clock in the morning going, how the hell did I get here? You know? And so you would go out into the world, and we all do it to some degree or another, and put our suit on. I pretty much wear the same suit. This is my teal suit. I got 5 or 6 of these jackets and some blue jeans, 4 or 5 pair of blue jeans, and some shirts and some boots. You know, and sometimes I wear some other shoes, but
About them socks?
them cool socks I had on,
Yeah.
see, sometimes I'm just feeling it like that. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine.
There you go.
Okay. But when we lose touch with the now, with our real self, we begin to believe that we are the fiction. You know? And we can spend months and years and 90 days in a place and never be real. And I'm not talking about tell everybody who took your special place. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Right? Because sometimes you've been around somebody and it's like they tell you way too much and you don't even know them.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, I need to go take a shower. I wouldn't have said all that. And they call it, well, I'm real. That ain't real. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, quit.
Good tell about your jack off.
Or something, whatever. I mean, I know everybody in here shits, but I don't want to follow you in there. You know?
You want to shake your hand.
Yeah. Because there's some, thank you. Because even that can be manipulated. You know, somebody goes, hi, I'm this, and they go. You know, there are people get arrested for that shit. Because it's a violation. You know, it impinges on somebody else's whatever sense of who they are. You know, when I'm thinking about this or trying to comprehend it, because I think comprehend is my new word instead of understand. You know, because understanding me, I'm standing under something. Comprehend, I need to look it up and do the parsing, the syntax stuff of it, just to make sure I'm using the right word. But it's more of that, I think, something, than just a mental thing. But when one decides, or they want to, because we all have a desire to be real. You know, we do, or you wouldn't be dissatisfied in your fiction. You know, sometimes it's not pleasant when that feeling of longing to be real comes up. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's shaming. to realize that I've been a fake, and that shames me. You know, and so we run and get behind the bushes and put fig leaves over our junk. And we hide behind our fiction. You know, and then we spend weeks, months, years, hours, minutes with people who are also in their fiction, and we relate as fictional characters. Our yes is not yes many times, and our no is not no many times. Y'all ever been around people that when they said yes, it didn't mean yes? Or if they said no, it didn't mean no?
Women are pretty good at that. Something struck me when you said that was having an understanding of God's will and word is completely different than standing under God's will and word.
Maybe, yeah. I would say it's more about moving from a position of belief in God to a position of knowing God. Because those, as you framed that sentence, it's still in a mental kind of thing. But once you there's a degree in which, if you can imagine yourself being held underwater for 30 seconds, that's not a big deal, a minute. You know, anybody ever been held underwater when you're swimming? And it was fun for about a minute. And then about a minute 30, your adrenal glands and all that stuff start kicking in, and you feel it. And that panic starts rising. And there'll come a point where nothing's going to stop you from getting to the air. You know what I'm talking about? Just this. When you get to that place, I mean, when you're there, you're not going, oh, I had a hard life and I got a felony and that's wrong. You're not thinking of any reason why you're not getting air. You understand what I'm saying? Because how many hours, minutes, days have you spent going over and over and over and over and over all the reasons why not? Or blaming somebody else for the why. One of my sermons I used to preach was, if you have faith the size of a crack rock, you can move a mountain. Ain't no crackhead has a problem with faith. Yes?
I wonder why I have dreams all the time I can breathe underwater.
I don't know. We can play with that in a minute if you want.
I just mentioned it because you told me. But it's a lot. It's once every other week. Once or twice a week. It's a few times a month. I fall in and I think I can't breathe, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I can breathe. And I'm underwater.
There's a reason, and I don't know, but you do. Because it's your soul that's trying to get your attention with that particular symbol that means something particular to you. You're creating that. A part of you is creating that you're not very familiar with. You know. I don't know if this is so or not, I'll just say it, but it may be that the truest self of you is trying to wake the ghost up rather than the other way around. Because we believe that we are what is the ghost. We believe we're the persona. We believe that we're the fiction. And because we believe in it, we give that life. We become the body of the fiction. Does this make sense? Or am I just jabbering?
No, I'm following.
Because I'm trying to learn how to articulate it myself. So I don't...
Definitely like to,
you know.
dig into it.
And that other... I mean, we have a sense of that. You can't really have words for it. You know, the part of us that
There's like
watches us.
renewing or
Well, there's some point in your consciousness and your awareness where when you think about your thoughts, who's thinking about the one thinking about the thoughts? I mean, there's, you know, or who is aware of that? I don't know that you can even think in terms of what we're talking about.
Maybe God's trying to show you there's anything positive in him.
Well, he'll know. And you want me to do something with that?
I mean, it'd be cool.
All right. Let me tell you a little bit about how, what?
Draw on the left side.
On the left side? I hit my mark. I need to put some tape down on the floor so I get on the right thing.
I love it.
Because avoid right now or practice or begin to observe yourself wanting to figure something out and label it. Okay? Like when you were trying to get, you know, uninvited. I mean, it's not. It's just a exercise of becoming aware that you jumped into something me and him was doing for some reason. Not a bad reason, not a good reason. Just okay. It's not a critique necessarily. It's just an observation. Because we'll hear something and we'll try to formulate and maybe we hadn't even heard what's really going on because I was talking to you on a very different kind of place. You know? And the impulse is to try to figure it out. And nothing wrong with that at some point. But if we jump to figure it out too quick, we more than likely don't have all the information that we could get. All right? Because our figuring out to date has brought us all to this place.
I'll disturb it or disrupt it instead of helping it.
No. Well, I mean, everything, all your figuring, all your smarts, all your intuition, all that stuff brought you to that chair today. So there's probably some data out there somewhere you may want to, and not in terms of just information, but just awareness. You know. Because however bad your ex-wife was, you chose her. You know? And then blamed her for whatever, just like she did with you. I'm guessing. I mean, I wasn't there. And the information that's important for you is not figuring her out, it's figuring you out. Why do I like crackhead women or whatever? Crazy bitches. It's my favorite, you know, and there's a reason for that, or there's sets of reasons or motivations for that, but it's in that dream place. It's not in what we already know, because if that would have worked, we would have been sitting somewhere else this morning. Is that fair enough to say? Mm-hmm. And so it's not about me judging anybody or that. It's, you know, you create your life. You know? Whatever happened when you were little, most of y'all ain't been little for 20 years or 30 years. You know? All right, tell me how the dream starts. Okay, well, let me talk about dreams. Okay. Dreams can be a very good source of new information. Okay? They come from you or God or however all that works. You know, whatever consciousness is, I don't know. And there are no sounds, there are no colors, there's no, in the dream world. Some folks see colors, but there's no light. How does that work? You think you hear sounds, but there's no vibrations going on. Totally. Is this tripping you out, baby?
It's like dreaming all those things.
That's kind of like being awake for you, ain't it, sometimes? It is. It is. It is. And you know that I think you're cool, so it ain't, you know. And you do what you do with your stuff. These other guys do the same shit, just different ways. Some of them try to be smart, some of them try to be bad, some of them try to be, I mean, it'd be better for them if they'd go every once in a while and just get it out. Right? Instead of all this bullshit they're living in.
Come on.
You know, that's a lot more fun than whatever. You know? And see, me and we're having a real communication about real stuff. Not, oh, crazy boy or crackhead, or those are all in the fiction. You know? Because I saw you through all that stuff and recognize and honor you. That ain't you. It's what you do. Because it's fun on some level. But one thing I know about him is he pays attention to all that stuff a lot more than most of us.
Quiet guys usually do.
Hmm?
Quiet guys usually do. Lesson I need to learn.
We'll learn about quiet guys first. So you jumped into something between me and him.
I got to rub my head in that brick wall.
That's fine. That's fine. And I mean, your interaction is a good teaching thing for all of us. It's fine. You know? But that's maybe something you can observe this morning, and then we'll start watching it. The impulse to insert yourself. What's that about? And the only way to know that is to begin to recognize that thing that comes up in you, and then watch and see what's going on. You know? Because as long as the impulse is carried out, you'll never find what's behind it. That's what fasting is about. You know, you don't get extra brownie points for not eating. You know, the fasting basically is to create a vacuum so something new can come in there. You know, for some of y'all, fasting of words would be helpful.
Amen.
Well, you say amen. Okay. So, if we're trapped in our senses, you know, if we're talking about light, or if we're talking about sound, or if we're talking about whatever, it's all frequencies that, there is no light till it bounces off somebody's eye. It's just frequencies. Your particular sensory apparatus converts those frequencies into signals that go to your brain. If there ain't nobody looking at it, there ain't no seeing, or what we call seeing. It's like the one-sided coin. You remember that, baby? The one-sided coin. You remember that?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. There's no other side. One side.
Wow!
I mean, you had to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. And And whatever our dreams are, there are no. We hear without our ears. Right?
Right.
We swim without motion. Cool. Okay. Right?
Right.
It feels crazy because we are addicted to our senses. You know?
You know, they have these, I forget what they're called, it's like this pool thing and sensory deprivation tank. Like you float in this water and it's closed off, it's black, and they say you're supposed to like go off inside each
Extremely
other.
quiet.
Yeah, some people go crazy. Smooth crazy. It can be torture because we're so connected to our sensory experience and for who we think we are. You know? Yes, sir?
That's why you do the DMT before you go in there.
Is that it? Okay.
That's what Joe Rogan said.
Well, okay. Joe Rogan's a sellout punk. They backed him down some so he could keep his show. I mean, it's fine, do it. Okay. But so many folks go to, because we're wanting some kind of new awareness, new consciousness, they'll do DMT or LSD or mushrooms or whatever and get trapped in that kaleidoscope as though that's real. It's just firing of senses, you know, instead of seeing this what looks like a flat steel wall. Somehow your senses are recalibrated where you actually see the vibrations that are in the universe. Or something. I might have to do them one day just to find out. But I'm already a little trippy, so I don't know if it's going to make that much difference. But a lot of my trippiness came from 20 years of depression. You know, or however many it's been. Because there's a longing in us, and metaphorically or biblically, I think it has to do with the fact that we don't matter. We're not living inside our body. We're living up here in a ghost world, in a false world. Paul talks about it as the sarx, or the fiction, the world system. You know, that has had people from the get-go say, I'm specialer than you, so you do what I say. And they might be lizards, they might be whatever they are, I don't care. They didn't create me. You know. They can kill my body, but they can't have my soul unless I give it to them. And our giving away of our soul happens in the fiction. You know. You've told yourself this similar story for, how old are you now, baby?
I'll be 31.
You'll be 31, so probably for 25, 30 years or so, when you started babbling as a baby. I was this, Mama was that, Daddy was this, these folks raised me, I'm a good boy or am I a bad boy? I'm either leading the church or I'm stealing its money. You know, that's kind of where you went. You know, you're right, you know what I'm saying? Beating people's ass if they didn't believe Jesus, you know, on one end, or then going and getting the offering money and going to buy whatever. That's a metaphor, that's not literal. But that's not just you, it's all of us. Or it might be real, so I don't know.
I believe you only do.
Well, I probably do, on some level. I don't know the particulars, but because when we live in the fiction, we're fucking boring stereotypes. You know, it's the same. People do about 4 or 5 things. It's not, you know. I mean, they might do it in there, somebody might hop on one foot while they do it, or somebody might have red hair.
Look different, but it's the same.
Same shit. Because it's in the drama. This is how it works. You have somebody this and somebody this and and then they work it out somehow and they resolve it, and then there's a lesson at the end. Am I a good boy? Am I a bad boy? What kind of character do I have? What kind of actions do I take in my persona, my mask? Okay. So at least I posit, or I recommend, or I would have you consider, if you want to, that there's other ways of knowing outside our senses. Because even if our eyes are perfect and we can only see this much of the continuum of light, okay, our senses are limited. You have to get out of your senses to breathe underwater. Because if not, you're going to die. Or grow gills or something.
Amphibian.
So. All right, let me take 20 minutes or so and play with your dream a little bit. And this is play. Okay? I would ask everybody to not try to interpret it for him, because it ain't yours to interpret. Okay? But sometimes in this kind of interaction I do with folks, you'll learn something about yourself. Write that down. Observe your own feelings, your own whatever. Okay? So, how long have you had that particular dream or something in that thing?
It hasn't happened since I've been here.
It has or has not? So, okay.
But before then, it was happening every other week for the last couple of years.
Okay. What you been doing the last couple of years?
Drinking water.
Drinking?
GHB.
I don't. What is
It's
it?
up there on the board right there. Right there, hanging on the wall.
Bottom left of that chart.
Hanging on the chart.
Anatomy of drugs.
Anatomy of drugs.
Oh shit! I don't care. What does it do?
It makes you feel great.
Feels great.
Great.
Great. Like how? Some folks like to get their ass whooped, and that
Like
makes
a
them feel.
beer and a Xanax.
I mean, it's just a euphoria that I can't really explain. I mean, it just makes everything better, it seems like.
It's a club drug.
Okay. So you might wake up with a sore asshole.
There's no side effects.
Now some clubs, they do call it gateway drug. I mean, really.
Is that what it is? Okay. I feel great, but my asshole hurts. I don't know what happened. That's how I categorize the drugs. I don't care about their labels. So you was drinking, and they call it water?
Yeah, it's just clear. So I guess I was trying to interpret it myself by that, but I think there's more to it. Like, because I'm drowning in the water, and if I don't stop, I'm gonna kill myself, but, you know, not kill myself, but it's gonna kill me.
Okay. Tell me how the dream starts.
I just fall into the water, and then I'm all.
Okay, wait a minute.
I just fall.
Breathe. And where I want the information to come is from back here, not here. It's more about you're going to feel the information more than have some rigid labels around it. Okay, so.
It's just a splash into the water.
A splash. Do you experience yourself falling?
Yes.
Okay. Are you face down?
Back.
You fall backwards. Which is an act of faith. And a surrender of control. Right?
Right.
Because if you're falling backwards, there's nothing how does that feel?
At first there's panic because I can't find the surface.
I mean, well, stay with the falling first.
The falling is very brief.
How does it feel? Your eyes are going like that, so you're in your head. Your figure's just like, and the computer's going.
Well, I'm
Quit.
trying to remember.
Alright,
I'm trying to remember the dream.
Just feel it. Imagine, breathe, do
This is
this.
it, no doubt.
Tell me that again.
Like I'm falling, and I don't know what surface I'm landing on.
Okay, so you don't even know.
I don't know where I'm going, or, it's just a brief fall.
And that is panicky?
No, the panic is under the water.
Okay. All right. And then you hit the back, your back hits the surface?
And it's a relief because it's water. I know I'm alive.
Can you feel the water hit? Did you get like a belly buster on your back kind of thing? Did it sting? It's comforting?
Smooth, comforting hug.
And are you facing down or facing up while you're in the water?
I'm still leaning back, and then when I go under, I'm just there.
Suspended or on the?
Yeah, just right in the middle, like I can't get to the surface, I can't go any deeper.
And the dream is the same every time?
Just about. I can't remember any other variation than that. But after that, I realized that I can't. For a brief second, I think I can't breathe, and then all of a sudden, I can breathe underwater.
Then the panic, right?
The what?
Then the panic after.
Yeah, the panic happens once I look up, and I can't. It feels like something's holding me in suspension under the water, and so I can't. I feel like I'm about to drown, and then all of a sudden I breathe underwater. It's like, oh, it's all good.
Okay. I want you.
And then it wakes me up.
Okay. And when you wake up, you go from being suspended underwater breathing to waking up, or is there a trip up or down?
Usually I breathe and then I start to swim off and then I wake up.
Like off horizontally or up or?
No. It's more like, yeah, it's upward.
Hey, all parts, there's in our dreams, there's usually the one that's attached to our ego where we think that's I. Right? That's connected to your fictional self. That's the least important part, generally. Because do you know where you were standing before you fell?
No, I'm not.
Do you have a sense that you were standing before you fell? Or did you just start falling?
I have a sense that I might have just, I might have been standing. Because of the way I just release, surrender.
Now, I'm going to ask you to do something that's weird, and it's weird just because it's different. Your soul, your spirit, your whatever produced all the elements of a dream. And the important information comes from those elements that are not this. You are all those elements. Can you try to stay back here as much as you can? Imagine being the water. What's it like being the water?
Being the water?
Be the water. Are you... What are you? Are you heavy?
Free.
You're free? As the water, what was it like for the ego to fall into it? What is your response? What do you want from that person? What are you doing with that person? That
Current ego or?
In the dream.
I know, I'm saying, are you referring to my current ego?
In the
On
dream.
drugs, or?
In the dream.
Well,
Don't get out of the dream yet.
I'm not, but.
Yeah, you are. You're arguing with me. Quit. Because something in you jumped when I did that and you defended it.
No.
Just, you're arguing with me now. Quit. Okay. And I might be wrong. It's fine.
What's the question again?
Be the water.
Okay.
Whatever that means. And that you as the water, somebody fell in you. That character fell in you. What was that like?
Was the character fell in me? Disappointing? Disappointing?
You were disappointed that he fell in you?
I don't understand the question.
Not failing, you fell into.
I fell into as me being the water.
Yes.
Peace.
You felt peace that he fell and was floating?
I can't get there.
Well, you can't. Quit, break. You're telling me I
It makes no
can't.
sense. He fell.
Dreams make no sense. There's no sense there. Because you had it and brought it up.
I mean, I was just if I'm the water,
And your ego fell in the water, and then you fall in, like yourself is different than what you are. You're the water, you're nothing else but the water.
I don't understand how to answer that question though.
How would you feel if something just pile dropped right into?
Well, no, baby, you're assuming some shit. Quit. Quit.
That could be. You could violate. I didn't make it.
I'm going to get my knife out and cut you. Quit. Quit. You know how that felt just then? Where it was like, you didn't know how to put it together with your brain? That's the water, baby. What's that feel like?
Panic. Jumbled up.
As the water's panicked?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, I'm going to try to help
I
you.
felt like I don't know how to answer that question.
Quit saying I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
You know that you don't know. You do know. You're casting spells on yourself to keep yourself in the dark.
I need an example.
I just gave it to you.
I'm what? Casting spells on myself? That's the water.
How do you make a word?
The what?
How do you make a word?
Put letters together.
And what is that called?
Smelling.
And you are saying to yourself, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
But you do, because you created this dream. In your current observation of yourself and comprehension of yourself, that there's information that's lacking in terms of cognitively, but you know you created it.
Right.
Right?
I guess I still need more time to figure it out.
Trying to comprehend it,
Comprehend.
understand, live in it. There's, and I'll do some stuff with this in a minute. I'm just trying to get you to, because I can interpret this 5 different ways, but it doesn't matter if it's not, if it doesn't resonate with you. You're on the surface, and there's an act of faith, which is falling backwards. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if those were your words or what I wrote, but
Yeah, at first when I start falling,
you don't know what you're going to fall onto.
right, I never know what the surface is. But my actions are the same every time. I can't get to the top, and then I realize I can breathe.
Because on some level, this is probably when you were in your mama's amniotic fluid, where you were breathing underwater. On some level. Trippy.
I mean,
But
it's like pop the tit out of the mouth and grow up being a man.
no. I'm not here to poke you, buddy. No. I was just saying that is one experience you have had in the actual real material world of breathing underwater. You wasn't quite sure what the surface was you was on. It was between the surface and the deep. You know? And I'm guessing on some level, and when that thing starts squeezing you out, there's a little panic. It's when the water breaks. Y'all ever seen a baby delivered?
On the internet.
Freaky.com.
I would say that. Not for me.
Water typically is associated with consciousness. If you're underwater, it's unconsciousness. Associated with mother, it's associated with fish. And I think it was, because when we were talking, you called this water, which is fake water, which is not real water. You spelled a word, you know. And my guess is more than likely the reason you wanted that water is because your soul wanted to go back to where there was a warm hug. My guess is that your behavior after taking all that stuff produced some warm hugs for you. You know, you find a needy girl and make her take that shit and she'll let you see her titties or whatever. Right? No, or the guys or whoever you did.
I didn't give it to anybody. I liked it too much.
Okay. But there wasn't sexual activity involved in all that?
There's sexual activity involved in everything. Just about.
Currently not here.
No, I just meant.
There is intercourse
I
happening.
mean, it makes you aroused a little more. You do a little more freaking shit.
Where I was trying to go, baby, is that the root of everybody's addiction is righteous. There is a true need, a desire that your soul wants, needs, whatever, like the breath when you're being held in the water. There's nothing. Because where you need to figure out, baby, is what was going on before you took the drugs. What was the need? You know, were you bored? Were you feeling bad about yourself? Were you
Bored.
whatever that was that made you long for a warm hug in the water? Huh? That's righteous. The problem with that type of water is that it makes you its bitch.
Right.
And it's an illusion. Does that make sense? It's not that you're a bad boy or a good boy or this, that. It's that it's not viable in this plane.
It makes me somebody that I like that nobody else likes. To an extent. Or my family was, man.
Well, I don't imagine it was the drug taking that made them not like you. I imagine it was the behaviors associated with the drug taking.
Yeah.
So it's not the drug.
Okay.
I'm just trying to help you get clear.
The drugs called.
Okay. I'm just trying to help you get clear for your own self, not for me.
I guess it, you know, didn't go far enough with it.
Quit. Does this feel like I'm correcting you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because you know what I mean.
No, I don't. Because you don't know what you mean,
It
baby.
is the drug's fault.
Because you don't know what you mean yet.
It's my fault that I took the drug in the first place.
Because you don't know what you mean yet.
You're right, I don't know.
So how can I know? That's why I'm trying to get you to say words that are actual so that you can live inside yourself. You know?
Okay.
And that, whatever that was, and if you want to later on in the weeks to come, we can explore that, you know. But there's some relationship, some pattern with authority that gets you bowed up when you don't necessarily have to get bowed up.
Right.
And you're fighting a battle that it don't exist. You know what I'm saying? You see what
I comprehend.
there's information that can free you there. And as long as you or we spend our time fortifying our present positions, we're going to remain in the same battle over and over and over and over and over, just different people, and we get uglier and older and broker, you know. And because the world's fiction has us, and we are harvested by the world, you know, on whatever level you want to think about that on. You know, I mean, our education system, the way we're taught grammar and all that stuff, has us convinced and brainwashed that we are a fictional character. You know, and you can spend 13 years becoming, I'm a sovereign citizen, and you know, that kind of thing, but that's not all of it. Y'all know what I'm talking about with that? You know?
Could you expound on the fictional character part?
Yes, sir. We come from before the Word. We were chosen before the foundations. We came from somewhere and we're going to return there. On some level, just out of scriptures. Okay? And we're taught that we are a person. Right? And we're supposed to be a good person, not a bad person. All right? Don't shit your pants no more.
Okay.
Okay? But for all my life, until I got to be however old I was, I shit my pants. And then somebody comes in there and says, you can't shit your pants no more. And they flip the whole shit on you. And you go, I'll be damned. Okay, this process is shit shit your pants, you can figure this out. Figuratively. Okay? And we're putting all these double binds. You must love me because you want to. What?
Makes sense.
Bam! Don't cry. Right? And we get, you're not acting right. What else? And when we're not acting right, there's usually some drama that comes up between us and somebody else, and where they say we're not acting right. Because you're not going to go to heaven if you're 60 years old and like to wear diapers. I mean, you're not going to go to hell if you still like to shit your pants. Ain't nowhere in the Bible that says if you still shit your pants when you're 70, you're going to hell.
I hadn't seen it, nothing.
Okay. But there are people who have shit our pants clubs. Do y'all know this?
Yeah.
Grown-ass people that sit around in diapers and shit their pants because they want to get back to the childhood innocent stuff, you know. I mean, hell, we'll have somebody writing on a damn wall with their shit up here. Probably 3 times a year. There's some shit writer comes through here. The shit artist.
Yes, I had improvement.
There's a lot, yeah, there's a lot of those improved.
Yeah.
I think you had
You
improvement.
know, and there's some pattern like, not like yours, but there's something in them that has attached them to their shit in a way. The smells, the feels, oh, peanuts today or whatever. That excites their sensory processes and it makes them feel real. When you took your water, it made you feel real. Or what you thought was real, but that was an illusion in itself. You know? We want to feel like we matter. I'm somebody somebody likes. I matter. But the only way to be somebody somebody likes is to actually matter, live inside of who you are. Because when we're acting a certain way, this way or another, we're not being ourselves necessarily. We're acting. The word person comes from the Greek persona, right? From the tragedies, and this is basically Greek tragedy, and it's how our world works. There's some, there's some kind of drama. And then at the end, there are lessons. Did you learn your lesson? Has anybody ever said you acting right? You need to learn your lesson yet? And you know? Okay. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's how you be in the world. But we're taught in our scriptures that we need to be in the world yet not of it. Okay. This is a persona created by the world system. Some folks, y'all ever watch people on Facebook?
Oh yeah. It's all
Their avatars, their memes, and they become attached to those particular Antifada or the rebels or the black people or and they give all this life energy to these digital representations of what's supposed to be real, but it ain't. Or you might be a good Christian. Don't take offense. Jesus didn't call nobody to be no Christian. Huh? He said, follow me and do what I did. I'm your big brother. Right? He was the firstborn of many brethren. Jesus was really good, especially when he was dealing with the world system, about clarifying, no, this is me, that's what you say. This is me, that's what you say. I live here. I am incarnate. I live in my body, not in your fiction. And that pisses off the fictional world, because the fictional world wants to be God. And in our language, we can just refer to government as Caesar. Okay? If you've studied anything about our story, God's will for the people was to handle their own business under God. But then they say, we want a king like the rest of them. We want somebody to rule over us. We want a fictional, pretend God to tell us how to be who we are. Right? And we will swear our fealty and make our oaths to this fictional king that exists on paper, the monarchy, the whatever form of government it was. When they came from Egypt, they made a false. They wanted something they could feel, touch, taste, and they made a golden calf. And then they, just like, you ever play Monopoly? What's your favorite little duty? The little car. The little car, okay. You have a piece of lead, it used to be, I don't know what they are now, shaped like one of them old roasters or something, them long skinny ones. And you gave that thing, on some real spiritual level, you put your life energy into that. So that if somebody bumped your car, you went, fucker. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Right? That's a very real example of how we do. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I'm a whatever. I'm for the police. I hate the police. I'm, whatever. Police don't exist. There are individual people that put on the uniform of a police and act out in good or bad ways according to the fictional laws that have been drawn up. The real law is do no harm and treat other people like you want to be treated. And that is the law and the prophets. And love God with your heart and your mind and your soul. God created me. There is no government except God, except in fiction. People meet together and they constitute a fictional reality. And they write it down, and a lot of times in very bad grammar that actually doesn't mean anything. It's all opinions because they're not real clear on the actual definitions of the words. Y'all ever looked at Black's Law Dictionary? Which is basically the codex for what these words and symbols and all that stuff mean, so that they can say things on paper, but if you're not going by the dictionary, you ever had a lawyer tell you some shit you thought meant something and then it ended up meaning something else? It's babble. It's double speak. That's why Scripture says that your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't poison the language. Don't whatever. I'm sorry. Because we talked about this a few weeks ago, but even the idea. Would you agree maybe that whoever creates something owns it? It's not a trick question. That's.
Would say so.
Yeah, that's the authority. That's the author. So when we're talking about churches, and I'm not dogging churches, just hear what I'm saying. What is the authority of a church, corporate church?
Elders, deacons.
The foundational document is a piece of paper called a 501(c)(3). You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Non-profit. Okay. Who creates that?
The board. The government.
The government creates that. There is no separation of church and state. It is a contract that says we as a corporate entity, which is a fiction because corps are dead, but and it's not word tricks. It's we promise that we won't vary too far into things like politics unless it suits the agenda of the current government. Because there are some churches, some flavors of churches that talk about politics all the time. Okay? But we won't really confront Caesar. We won't really talk about money, except we need some. Because our money is a usury system and traps us. It's debt-based. It goes against the Creator's will for us. I mean, the Federal Reserve creates fictional money out of nothing and then enslaves us by it. That's how it works. That's the real devil system. The agreement between the corporate nonprofit church is that we won't talk about these things if you don't take our shit. And we will traffic in the money that you provide. You know, it's their money, they made it. And we'll traffic in all this stuff, and we'll not pay taxes. So a nonprofit, how do you spell it? Profit, F-I-T, is actually literally P-R-O-P-H-E-T. Is non-prophetic, which is speaking what he is. And I'm not dogging out all churches. They better than the crack house. Okay? But Jesus didn't call to go through all that stuff so that we could join a corporate entity.
Amen to that.
Okay? And give it life. So, what, were you raised in church?
Yes, sir.
What flavor?
Southern Baptist.
Okay, so people say, I'm a good Baptist.
Good Baptist.
I'm a good Baptist. And you are a good Baptist, but that doesn't mean you're connected to God necessarily.
There's a lot there going to hell.
You know, there's some people in the crack house going to heaven.
You're right.
Oh, because I got papers from the Southern Baptist Theological Cemetery in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a professional Baptist. I traded lots and lots and lots of papers for one big piece of paper at the end. And they taught me how to write papers about papers, about papers, about papers, about papers. They didn't teach me how to know God at all. They talked about predestination.